We're going to go in depth with 5 habits that, in just 1 week, totally changed my life. Yes, you read correctly. 1 week. These aren't your typical advice that you hear everywhere, even though it may sound almost too good to be true. These are sincere, unvarnished habits that I have personally incorporated into my daily schedule. I went through the challenges, the successes, the breakthroughs, and the transformation I underwent was simply incredible. These have had such a significant influence on my life that I can't wait to share them with you. And I think they will have the same effect on yours. These habits can help you achieve your goals, whether they are to increase productivity, enhance mental health, or simply make positive changes in your daily life. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get started. Habit 1, getting up earlier. Let me tell you straight up, I was never a morning person. I used to hit the snooze button more times than I can remember, because my bed was my best friend. I frequently felt like I was getting off to a bad start in the mornings because they were such a chaotic rush. However, I made the decision to try getting up early, and I have to say that it changed my life. I set my alarm for 5 in the morning. The initial days were terrible. I recall dragging myself out of bed, questioning whether this was really worth it while feeling drowsy. However, I persevered, and by the 3rd day, amazing things were beginning to occur. I started to enjoy the peace and quiet of the early morning. Being up before the rest of the world, when everything was quiet and serene, had a nearly magical quality. I found time for things I never seemed to have time for before, thanks to these extra hours in the morning. I warmed up for the day by stretching and taking a quick jog around the neighborhood. Nothing too strenuous. I was awakened by this and felt invigorated for the remainder of the day. I also took some time to meditate and make my daily goals. These brief mindfulness exercises had a profound impact on my general perspective and output. I stopped feeling rushed after waking up early, which was another unexpected advantage. I had plenty of time to make a plan for the day, eat a hearty breakfast, and sip my coffee slowly. The relaxed beginning of the day created a good vibe for the whole thing. I felt less stressed, more in control of my time, and more organized. One particular instance that comes to mind is the morning I stood on my balcony and watched the sun rise. It was a straightforward but incredibly lovely moment. I was overcome with gratitude and serenity as the world gradually came to life and the sky began to change colors. I realized then and there how important it is to get up early. Even though getting up early might not be for everyone, I still urge you to try it, even for just 1 week. Begin by rising your wake-up time by just 15 minutes, and then gradually extend it. How much of a positive influence it can have on your life may surprise you. Not only is it important to have more hours in the day, but it's also important to make the most of those hours by starting your day with greater mindfulness, intention, and fulfillment. Habit 2. Exercise every day. Speaking of workouts, the second habit that completely changed my life was daily exercise. Let me be honest now, I didn't always lead an active life. I used to come up with every possible reason not to work out. I'm overly worn out. I'll start tomorrow, or I don't have time today. Do you recognize this? However, I made the decision to give up one day. For a week, I committed to moving my body every single day, and the results were amazing. I started out slowly, jogging, strength training, and yoga for just 20 minutes a day. In order to prevent getting bored and giving up midway through, I wanted to keep it interesting. The initial days were difficult. Even though my muscles ached and I felt worn out, I kept in mind that I was doing this for mental and physical well-being. On the 4th day, an incredible thing transpired. My energy level increased when I woke up. My mood had lifted significantly. I was happier and less agitated. It dawned on me that the 20 minutes of exercise were about more than just toning up and burning fat. They were about giving myself space to be myself, to decompress, to increase endorphins. I remember putting on my sneakers for a morning jog. Running on that clear, crisp day gave me a sense of freedom and clarity I hadn't felt in a long time. The only things in my mind were the open road and myself. It was really empowering to feel that connection to the world and to myself. I began to notice physical changes as well. I felt stronger. My posture straightened out, and my general level of fitness changed. The greatest shift, though, was in my perspective. Working out became my way to unplug from the outside world and reestablish a connection with myself. It shifted from being a chore to a kind of self-care. The first time I tried yoga was another memorable experience for me. At first, I wasn't sure if it would be a true workout, or if I wasn't flexible enough. But I became enamored with it after a few sessions. I learned to breathe deeply, pay attention to my body, and be present through yoga. Beyond the obvious health benefits, it was a life-changing experience. Making exercise a daily part of my routine helped me to understand how taking care of my physical health directly affected my happiness and mental health. It's not about striving for perfection or going above and beyond. Making movement a regular part of your life involves finding an activity you enjoy. Start small is my advice if you're having trouble getting started, as I did. Discover an activity you enjoy doing, be it dancing, hiking, or even a quick stroll. Begin with just a short daily commitment and work your way up from there. I promise that the rewards will make the effort worthwhile. It's a habit that can alter not only your physical appearance, but also your whole perspective on life. Practice 3. Keeping a journal. Keep a journal as your third habit. I used to believe that journaling was exclusively for those with an abundance of free time, or those who were naturally reflective. I had doubts. With everything going on, who has time to sit down and write about their day? However, a single week of regular journaling fundamentally changed my viewpoint and became the basis of my personal development. I got started easy. I only took 10 minutes each night before going to bed to journal. I purchased a simple notebook and a pen that were both comfortable to hold. Just me and my thoughts, no fancy apps, no pressure to make it look pretty. I was at a loss for words as I stared at the blank page the first night. But first, I started out by talking about the simple things in life. My day, my joys, and my struggles. I began to delve deeper as the days passed. I discussed my aspirations, worries, dreams, and even my insecurities in my writing. It felt as though I was speaking with myself. That's when the enchantment transpired. I started to see trends in my ideas and actions. I came to see that while there were some things I could do nothing about, there were other worries that were entirely out of my control. I seem to recall writing one evening about an especially trying day at work. I found that writing down my ideas helped me better process my feelings. I detailed the specific thing that was stressing me out, how I felt about it, and what I could do better the next time. I felt more in control of my emotions and was able to gain clarity thanks to this straightforward act of reflection. Monitoring my development in a journal was another effective feature. No matter how little they appeared to be, I recorded my little accomplishments and milestones. I felt proud of myself when I looked back at these entries, and it inspired me to keep going. For example, I wrote about how I prepared for a presentation that I was anxious about. It was very encouraging to see my preparation process and the successful outcome recorded in my journal. In my journal, I also began a section dedicated to gratitude. I jotted down 3 things for which I was thankful each day. Through this practice, I learned to appreciate what I already had in my life, rather than focusing on what I was lacking. I was able to incorporate more positivity into my daily life, with this small, yet significant change. One post that stands out in particular was about a kindness I came across. I was having trouble with my grocery bags, and a stranger came to my aid. Not only did writing about this act of kindness make me feel appreciative, but it also motivated me to return the favor. I learned a lot about my desires, fears, strengths, and shortcomings through journaling. It evolved into a type of therapy as a means of sorting through the intricate web of ideas and feelings that each of us carries around. It gave me a secure environment where I could be wholly honest with myself without worrying about being judged. I strongly advise you to start journaling if you haven't already. It's not important to write flawlessly or to think deeply. Jot down anything that comes to mind. It might be a diary entry, a summary of your day, or some thoughts on a particular occasion. Allow yourself to feel and say whatever comes to mind. The amount of clarity and peace it brings into your life may surprise you. Keep in mind that the act of writing itself is more important than the content you write. Habit 4. Mindful eating. Mindful eating is the next topic. This was significant to me because, like many others, I used to eat while on the go, seldom noticing what or how much I was eating. I used to frequently eat hastily and distractedly while working on my laptop or going through my phone. It wasn't until I made the decision to try mindful eating for a week that I realized how much this was affecting my general well-being. The main goal of mindful eating is to fully observe the eating and drinking experiences on the inside as well as the outside of the body. It's all about enjoying every bite and paying attention to the tastes, textures, and even noises that your food makes. I therefore resolved to eat each meal with awareness. I began by arranging my dining area. I made a nice space for myself, cleared my dining table, and put away any distractions. No laptop, no TV, and no phone. Sitting quietly while eating felt a little weird at first, but it soon became a soothing routine. I took a few deep breaths before every meal to help me center myself and bring my attention to the here and now. I noticed right away that I was enjoying my food a lot more. I tasted each bite carefully and slowly, savoring every moment. I had never really noticed the delightful new flavors and textures that suddenly appeared in foods that I'd eaten hundreds of times before. For instance, the sweetness of ripe fruit and the crunch of fresh vegetables became much more apparent. It was similar to having haute definition food. The amount of satisfaction I felt after eating was another significant difference. I let my body tell when it was full by eating slowly and paying attention to what I was eating. For me, this was a significant change because I used to eat rapidly and frequently overindulge. I discovered that I naturally ate less and felt more satisfied when I paid attention to my hunger and fullness cues. One particularly memorable encounter involved a plain bowl of oatmeal. Usually I would devour it without hesitation. However, this time I took my time and enjoyed the smooth texture and delicate sweetness of the honey that I drizzled over. It turned into an appreciative and mindful moment that made the rest of my day go well. I also began to observe my moods in relation to various foods. Fresh, whole foods made me feel light and energized, while heavy processed foods left me feeling bloated and lethargic. I was able to make healthier decisions on my own without feeling constrained or deprived thanks to this awareness. Understanding our emotional relationships with food is another facet of mindful eating. I became aware of the times when my eating was not truly motivated by hunger, but rather by boredom, stress, or emotional comfort. This consciousness was strong. Rather than aimlessly munching, I could deal with the underlying feeling. Maybe instead of a bag of chips, I needed a break, some downtime, or a conversation with a friend. After dinner one evening in particular, I was craving something sweet. I stopped myself before reaching for dessert, questioning whether I was actually hungry, or if I was just looking for something to eat, to wind down after a hard day. I decided to have a warm cup of herbal tea instead of food after realizing I wasn't really hungry. It was a minor triumph that demonstrated the potency of mindful eating. Introducing mindful eating into my life had a profound impact on me. It made me feel better overall, helped me have a healthier relationship with food, and improved my digestion. I've carried over that habit past that first week, and I can't say enough good things about it. If you would like to give mindful eating a try, begin with one meal per day. Sit down in a quiet place, take a few deep breaths, and enjoy every bite. Take note of the food's flavors, textures, and overall impression on you. You might be shocked at how much this small habit can alter the way you eat. It's a beautiful way to reestablish a connection with your body and recognize the true nourishment that food offers. Habit number 5, restricting screen time. Reducing screen time is habit number 5. I think this one was especially hard for me, and I think it probably is for a lot of you too. In the digital age we live in, it's very simple to lose yourself for hours on end checking emails, binge-watching television, or scrolling through social media. But I came to see that my productivity, mental health, and even sleep were suffering as a result of all this screen time. I made the decision to establish some limits and observe what transpired. I started by limiting my daily screen time for non-work purposes to 1 hour. This meant no late-night TV binges, no pointless YouTube marathons, and no aimless Instagram scrolling. At first, it was difficult. I had grown so dependent on using my phone whenever I had free time. But I was aware that I had to alter. I was immediately struck by how much more time I had in a day. Before I made a conscious effort to limit my screen time, I had no idea how much of my time was being consumed by them. I discovered that I was rekindling old interests and hobbies that I had put on the back burner thanks to those extra hours. I started sketching and doodling again, picked up a book I had been meaning to read, and even gave trying new recipes a go. One evening after dinner, I made the decision to go for a walk in the park rather than watch TV. The simple act of moving my body, the fresh air, and the sounds of nature felt incredibly rejuvenating. Compared to my usual screen-induced sluggishness, it was quite the opposite. That walk turned into a treasured daily ritual that I eagerly anticipated and thoroughly enjoyed. My sleep quality also changed significantly. Before going to bed, I would take my phone and watch videos or browse social media until I fell asleep. But I frequently had trouble sleeping because of this habit, which made me tense and restless. Reducing screen time made it much easier for me to unwind and go asleep, especially before bed. I established a nightly ritual that excluded using electronics, reading a book, practicing meditation, or just thinking back on my day. This adjustment improved my overall energy levels and allowed me to sleep deeper and longer. Improvements in my mental well-being were also noticeable. I felt less nervous and more in the moment without the non-stop assault of news updates, social media comparisons, and electronic diversions. I was more engaged in my daily activities, more aware of the people around me, and more focused during conversations. I felt as though a cloud had lifted, making life easier for me to see and experience. I once had a particularly special day where I sat at a neighborhood cafe with nothing but a notebook and a pen for the whole afternoon. I jotted down my ideas, made some plans, and even drew It was a very quiet and productive period of time without any digital distractions. Screens had never allowed me to feel more a part of who I was and where I was. Naturally, there were times when I gave in to temptation and made mistakes. But every time I caught myself reaching for my phone out of habit, I took a moment to acknowledge the advantages I was reaping and shifted my attention to something more satisfying. Reducing screen time does not mean removing all technology from your life. It all comes down to striking a better balance and managing your time more deliberately. I suggest establishing some screen time boundaries if you're feeling stressed out or disengaged. Begin modestly, reducing your daily intake by an hour, and then progressively increase it. Make the most of the extra time to reestablish connections with those you love, the world, and yourself. If you put down your screen and interact with the real world more, you might be surprised at how much richer and more fulfilling life can be. Okay, everyone, that concludes our exploration of the 7 habits that, in a mere week, significantly transform my life. Not only has it been amazing to put these habits into practice, but it has also been amazing to share them with you. Every one of these habits has the potential to significantly improve your life. And if they can work for me, I firmly believe they can work for anyone. I strongly advise you to give any of these habits a try if they have motivated you. Perhaps begin with just one habit at first, and observe how it feels. Make adjustments based on what works for your needs and lifestyle. Recall that progress, not perfection, is the aim. It's about implementing tiny, doable adjustments that over time add up to significant changes. Please leave a comment below with the habit you're considering starting or any questions you may have. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Your comments and anecdotes are what truly amaze and uplift this community. In order to ensure that you don't miss any of our upcoming content, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell if you found this video helpful. You won't want to miss out on the many more insights and pointers we have in store for you. It could also significantly improve the lives of friends and family who watch this video and find that they could benefit from these habits. I appreciate you watching, and keep in mind that little adjustments have a big impact. Let's continue to develop and grow, transforming our daily activities into potent opportunities for personal growth. See you in the next video. Stay awesome, everyone.